pretty much obligatory that everyone has to give their opinion on the new Ghostbusters. I ain't gonna see the motherfucker, because people whose opinions that I respect have already gone through that trauma and seen it for me.
What is it? What class?
It's a class 10 fucking stinker!
I loved it. No, I'm just fucking with you. It was the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen.
If you want to see it, knock yourself the fuck out. I'm not going to. But I don't particularly want to talk about that. I want to talk about why I want this movie to fail, and fail fucking hard. And that has nothing particularly to do with the movie itself, but everything else around it. The controversy, the way they've gone about the marketing, and everything else. It is hugely disrespectful to the fans, hugely disrespectful to the original franchise. They had to legally threaten Bill Murray to get him to cooperate. You know, these are the first few things that are reasons why I want it to fail. But eventually what it comes down to is the marketing. Now, when people reacted to this film from the trailers and so on and said, this looks shit, and the premise, Rule 63 Ghostbusters, is a shit premise, you know, they had valid points. Valid, well-reasoned points that they put forward. But everything was just instantly dismissed as, no, you're a misogynist, you're a sexist. And that became the keynote of the movie, and from accounts it's bled into the movie. It's a very, very anti-male movie. You know, from the villain, to some of the advertising around it, to the extra scene they did about the YouTube comments and all the rest of it. It's just the kind of relentlessly disrespectful to the fans, misrepresented their views, and this whole misogyny thing is a deflection. You know, it's a way of dealing with the criticism without dealing with the criticism. Oh, you didn't like what I did, you must be a sexist. And this has to fucking stop, because it's happening all over the place. You know, you look at, going back a bit, you look at the Spider-Woman cover, or She-Thor, you know, all these other examples. If you ever take issue with these things on any level, you just get painted as a misogynist. So a really high-profile failure would hopefully start to undermine that as a tactic, both for avoiding criticism and as a tactic for marketing in scaring up these kind of pseudo-controversies. So that's why I wanted to fail. I wanted to fail because I want this tactic to stop. I want this exploitation of feminism and exploitation of using that as a powerful tool to dissuade criticism, legitimate criticism, as bigotry. I want that to stop. I mean, do you think this tactic would be acceptable or successful in any other context? I mean, what if Bad Boys had been marketed as, see this film or you're a fucking racist? No, wait, Bad Boys was actually good. Let's pick a different film. What then? Yeah, go and see Pluto Nash, or you're a fucking bigot. Would that have worked? Would that have made any sense? No. Then why does it with Ghostbusters? Why is it presumed that because a shitty film stars women, it's somehow immune to criticism? Yeah, in a way that other identity politics even wouldn't work. You know, what's going on there? And they made this integral to their marketing. You know, if you don't see it, you're a bigot. And yet, despite all that effort, despite all that shaming, despite an extra 100 million pumped into marketing, in spite of all this, the best it could manage was 46 million domestic, which for a big tentpole summer blockbuster with that much effort, and with the sheer viciousness of the marketing, that's a fucking poor showing, and taking it down. So you know, this begs another question: if that kind of effort, if that kind of spin, if that kind of dismissal of criticism doesn't work and doesn't result in big audiences, you know, if this vast untapped well of audience that you're supposedly going to get by making these kinds of films and using this kind of marketing, if that doesn't materialize, if these legions of women who supposedly are just waiting in the wings, waiting to descend upon the cinema to see science fiction action comedy, if that doesn't materialize, then what? Because studios at the end of the day are run on money, and we've seen this in other instances. The She-Thor comic started strong because of the controversy, then dropped off more rapidly than its contemporaries in terms of sales. Angela Queen of Hell got canned because it just didn't have the sales after the stupidity started. There's good ways to do these things, but Ghostbusters is basically Pixels. Pixels was all guys. That wasn't immune to criticism by any means, and no one claimed that criticism was misandry. You didn't have Adam Sandler whining on social media that they were just picking on him because he had a penis or anything. No, the film was shit. Everyone knew it was shit. Nobody felt abashed at saying it was shit. You look at Ghostbusters, look at the reviews. There's this huge dichotomy between audience reviews, which are hovering around 50%, and professional reviews, which are hovering around 70%, which isn't good. I mean, with these kind of reviews, there's a bias. You'd think 5 would be the average. No, 7's the average. If you see a score of 7 or 70 for a film out of 10 or 100, that means average, deeply average. It's not 5, because there's a trend upwards. But so that disparity is interesting. Are people afraid of criticising it? Are they being paid to say good things about it? In this day and age, especially after Gamergate, you have to consider, is the reviewer's politics at play in this? Are they giving it a free pass because of that? So yeah, it's not done as badly as some people hoped. A lot of people went to see it hoping for a car crash. A lot of people went to see it possibly multiple times because of ideological reasons. And then there's all the clueless people that haven't had anything to do with the controversy. So it's not done as bad as some people hoped. It's certainly not done as well as a lot of people hoped. So we can only hope that this means that this kind of bullshit won't happen again. Fingers crossed, anyway. So while I was making this, it came out on Twitter that Leslie Jones, who plays the token black lady in the current Ghostbusters, oh hell no! Her. She's been hounded off Twitter by racist abuse, and there are not enough quotes in the world. To borrow an argument from the aggressive left, it's 2016. We have had the internet for a while. There are adults who have grown up with the internet existing for the entirety of the time that they've been alive. There is no longer any fucking excuse for not knowing what trolling is. Trolling is making insincere, inflammatory comments in order to get a reaction. So when you go screaming onto social media or appearing on the news or getting website interviews and articles telling everyone, oh my god, people said these horrible things to me, I must flounce off social media never to be seen again, alright, you're giving the troll what they want. It's like grinding your rapist. Oh, harder daddy. What? So what does that suggest to me? It suggests to me that they are still using the same fucking tactic to try and get people to go and see this movie. Oh, you're a horrible racist and a sexist and a bigot if you don't come and see it. Woe is me, look how terrible and nasty everyone is. Guilt trip, guilt trip, guilt trip. Pack your bags. Fuck that. And fuck this film. But most of all, fuck the way it's marketed, and fuck this whole tactic of screwing over things people love and then accusing them of bigotry if they don't like it. Fuck off.